You ever stand on a rooftop at 3 in the morning and look down at the city, thinking it all belongs to you? That was me once, the youngest Mafia boss in New York. 26 years old, and every streetlight below felt like my spotlight. I thought I had it all figured out, but the city doesn't belong to anyone. It just lets you borrow the illusion until it takes everything back. I wasn't born into power. I was born into noise, traffic, rent dues, broken promises. Queens raised me the hard way. My mother worked double shifts cleaning offices she'd never afford to rent. My father drove a yellow cab until the night his heart gave out behind the wheel. I was 16 when I realized the truth. Honest work only buys you survival, not respect. And respect, that's what I craved more than money, more than peace, more than love. Back then, I sold whatever I could. Fake IDs, crypto wallets, burner phones, small things that made big noise on the streets. I wasn't smart. I was desperate. But desperation has its own kind of intelligence. One night, outside a club in Queens, I was hustling drunk college kids, flipping stolen watches. That's when Luca Marino saw me, an old-school Italian with eyes that had seen too much and cared too little. He looked at me, smirked, and said, "Kid, you ever think about bigger things?" I didn't know what he meant, but something in his tone told me that once I said yes, there'd be no turning back. He started testing me. Small jobs at first. Pickups, deliveries, messages. He said the less I knew, the safer I'd be. But curiosity's a dangerous thing. One night I broke the rule. I opened the package. Inside was a diamond watch and a small USB drive. I didn't understand then, but that flash drive held crypto worth $3 million. $3 million. I wasn't supposed to know that, but I did. And instead of killing me for it, Luca promoted me. He said, "If you're gonna break rules, at least be smart enough to survive them." That was the beginning. In less than a year, I wasn't running errands. I was running people. Luca introduced me to money laundering through digital fronts, NFTs, shell companies, art auctions. The game had evolved, and I was the evolution. The old dons were still talking in back rooms over cigars, and I was flipping millions with a phone in my hand. They called me King Ray. The name stuck. I didn't choose it, but I didn't correct them either. I liked the sound. Soon I owned more than I could count. Nightclubs, bars, transport companies, all legal on paper, all dirty underneath. My penthouse overlooked Central Park, and every time I stared down from those glass walls, I saw the version of me that had once stared up. Hungry, angry, invisible. Now I was untouchable, or so I thought. Luca was proud, or at least he acted like it. But with men like him, you never know if pride is genuine or just a mask for control. He said, "You're family now. Ray, don't forget who made you." I didn't, but part of me started, wondering if I could ever make myself without him. That's when I made my first mistake, thinking I could outgrow the man who taught me the rules. It started with a deal, a new partnership with the Russians. They had supply chains I needed. I had digital access they didn't. Luca warned me not to trust them. He said, "These people, they don't do loyalty. They do leverage, but power makes you deaf to wisdom." I went ahead anyway. The deal made us millions overnight. Crypto in, cash out, clean as a preacher's smile. It was beautiful. And for the first time, I didn't call Luca for approval. The next few months were a blur. Parties that didn't end, champagne that never stopped flowing, and women who only loved me under chandelier light. My world moved fast, maybe too fast, because somewhere between the luxury and the paranoia, I started to notice cracks. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. Eyes lingered longer than they used to. And Luca, he started keeping his distance. He'd miss meetings, ignore calls. I told myself he was busy. Deep down, I knew better. It was a Thursday night when everything changed. We were throwing a rooftop party to celebrate another record quarter, as my accountant liked to call it. The skyline glittered, music blasted, and my so-called friends toasted my empire. But the air felt different. Heavy, fake smiles, forced laughter, the kind that tastes like fear. I looked around that crowd and realized loyalty isn't bought with money. It's rented with power. The second the rent's due, everyone looks for a new landlord. I left early that night. The noise was too loud, the silence inside me louder. When I got home, my phone buzzed. One message, no name. "They're coming for you, King Ray." At first, I thought it was a threat. But it wasn't. It was a warning. 3 days later, the empire started collapsing. My crypto accounts froze. My lawyers disappeared. My driver didn't show up. And Luca, he was nowhere. That's when I understood. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't the feds. It was him. My mentor. My maker. The man who taught me the rules had decided I was the problem. They came for me that night. Feds, NYPD, maybe even his men. I couldn't tell. Red and blue lights flooded the street outside my building. Helicopters above. Cameras waiting. Everyone wanted a piece of my fall. But I wasn't there. I'd already vanished. See, I never trusted the walls around me. Not even the ones I paid for. I always kept a second life ready. Fake passports, cash, safe houses. As the city burned my name in headlines, I walked through Times Square unnoticed. A hoodie, a cap, a ghost among millions. I watched my empire crumble on digital screens while I passed by, and for a moment I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Funny, isn't it? The moment you lose everything, you finally stop being afraid of losing. Now I live quiet. I move in the shadows I used to own. The city doesn't know my face anymore, but it remembers my name. Whispered in corners, painted in fear. They think King Ray is dead. Maybe he is. Maybe that's the point. Because sometimes the only way to stay alive in this city is to let the world think you're gone. And yet, every night, when the skyline glows and the wind carries the noise of 1,000 hustlers chasing what I once had, I can't help but smile. They're still playing the game I already won and lost. But this story doesn't end here. Because someone, somewhere, is using my name again. Running the same routes, laundering the same crypto, paying off the same cops. And whoever that someone is, he's about to learn what it really means to rise in this city. Because if I built the throne once, I can burn it twice. You ever wake up one day and realize you're a ghost in a world you built? That's what it felt like. The empire I created was alive, but it no longer had my heartbeat. My name still echoed through New York's underworld, whispered in fear and respect, King Ray. But the man behind it didn't exist anymore. I had disappeared, or at least that's what everyone thought. After the raid, I moved like smoke, no trail, no scent. I stayed in abandoned apartments, slept on couches of people who owed me favors. Cash under floorboards, burner phones, and brown paper bags. My reflection in mirrors felt like a stranger, eyes tired, voice hollow. I'd built an empire to be seen, and now I lived just to stay invisible. Funny how the game flips. Every night I'd watch the news. They said the crypto kingpin had vanished. The feds froze my assets, seized my cars, auctioned my clubs. Luca's name never came up. He was clean, always would be. He built me like a bullet. Fast, precise, and disposable. For months I tried to convince myself I didn't care. But inside something burned. Not anger. No, anger fades. It was something colder. Betrayal that turned into purpose. I didn't want revenge for what he took. I wanted justice for what he made me. So I started watching again. Listening. A contact at the docks told me about new shipments coming through under my old company's name. A man claiming to be the new Ray. I laughed the first time I heard it. But when I dug deeper, the laughter died. The new boss wasn't some outsider. It was Aiden, my right-hand man, the same one who vanished before the raid. That hit harder than I expected. Aiden, the guy I trusted with everything, who I called my brother. I taught him the business, gave him my loyalty, and in return, he gave me my downfall. I used to think betrayal hurts the most when it comes from someone you love. But no, it hurts when it comes from someone you made. I started planning quietly. You can't fight a war with bullets anymore, not in 2025. You fight it with information. So I went digital again, like the old days. Hacked into old crypto trails, mirrored their transactions. Every penny that flowed through my name was being laundered by Aiden's new setup. Same networks, same dirty cops, same banks. He didn't just steal my empire. He stole my identity. For weeks I stayed quiet, watched, waited. But you can't stay a ghost forever. One night I found myself standing outside one of my old clubs, Halo 57. New sign, new guards, same neon blue glow. I stood across the street, hoodie up, smoke in my hand. Through the glass walls I saw Aiden, expensive suit, same swagger I once had. He laughed the way I used to laugh. He shook hands with men I once owned. And in that moment I understood something painful. I hadn't lost my empire. I'd just become part of its history. But history has a way of repeating itself. That night, I followed him.
Across the city, into the dark corners where real deals happen. No cameras, no music, just silence and danger.
I watched him meet a group of Russians, same ones I once tried to partner with. I could barely hear the words, but I recognized the pattern. Greed never changes language. It hit me then. This was my second chance. Not to reclaim what I lost, but to prove I'd learned what power really means. I didn't want to kill him, not yet. I wanted to remind him that ghosts still haunt. The next few days, I moved like a shadow again. Found my old digital keys, reactivated hidden wallets. You see, I never gave the feds everything. The smart man always keeps a back door open, even to his own secrets. I started siphoning funds from his accounts. Slow, silent, undetectable. $1 million here, 2 there. Enough to make him nervous, but not enough to make him suspicious. I wanted him to feel it, the paranoia, the uncertainty. I wanted him to start looking over his shoulder the way I once did, and then I made contact, an encrypted message. 3 words. You took my name. No signature, no trace. But I knew he'd understand exactly who sent it. That night, I watched him again. The same club, the same routine, but this time his smile was forced. His eyes scanned the crowd. Fear had entered his body language, and fear is contagious. Within a week, his men started asking questions. Whispers spread. Some said the old boss was back. Others said he never left. Power doesn't die, it just changes form. And mine was crawling back quietly. But what I didn't realize is that Luca was still alive, too. He reached out one evening. An unknown number. Same gravel voice. You made a mess, Ray, he said. And now you're trying to clean it up. I didn't answer. I just listened. He said, Aiden's not your enemy. He's your reflection. I made both of you. You think I didn't plan this? That's when it hit me. None of this was coincidence. The betrayal, the raid, even my escape. Luca had orchestrated the entire thing. He'd built 2 versions of me. One to rise, one to replace. I was never meant to survive. I was meant to disappear, to make room for his next creation. My voice shook when I said, You taught me loyalty, Luca. Was that just another lesson in manipulation? He chuckled softly. You wanted power. I gave you a kingdom. You just didn't understand who owned the land. The call ended. Silence. That's when the plan changed. I realized taking back the empire wouldn't mean killing Aiden or even Luca. It meant killing the idea that they still controlled me. Power wasn't about owning streets or accounts. It was about owning yourself again. So I did something none of them expected. I went public, leaked everything, documents, accounts, names, even videos. Not to the police, to the media. Within hours, the underworld erupted. Cops raided, rivals vanished, allies turned. The empire they built on my ashes began to crumble. And me? I watched it all from a rooftop, drinking cheap whiskey, letting the city burn. When the smoke cleared, Aiden was arrested. Luca disappeared for good. And me, I was free. No empire, no title, no followers. Just freedom. But freedom's a strange thing. It doesn't heal you. It exposes you. Weeks passed. I started fresh. New name, new job, small apartment in Brooklyn. Sometimes I walk through Times Square at night, watching the lights reflect off glass towers, and I hear whispers, King Ray is dead, and I smile. Because they're right, and they're wrong. See, I died the night they took everything from me. But what came back wasn't a king. It was something quieter, colder, a man who finally understood that power isn't about being seen. It's about surviving in silence. People chase money, fame, respect. I've had it all, lost it all, and still here I am, breathing. That's victory enough, but sometimes, when the city goes quiet and the rain hits the windows just right, I hear Luca's voice in my head. You think you're free, Ray? You're still playing my game. And maybe he's right. Maybe freedom was just another illusion, or maybe I've been the one pulling the strings all along, because the man they think is gone, the legend they still whisper about, isn't dead. He's just watching, and if the city dares to forget me again, I'll remind it who I am, King Ray, the ghost of New York.